Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around? And then worst of all, never thought, baby, when you say you will, but I love you still. I need you more than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start. So build me up, buttercup, don't break my heart. I'll be over at 10, you told me time and again, but you're late. I'm waiting round and then I run to the door. I can't take any more. It's not you. You let me down again. Baby, baby, try to find a little time and I'll make you happy. I'll be home. I'll be beside the phone waiting for you.
All right, welcome back to Brew Crew Review, episode number 30. I want to congratulate my co-hosts here joining me today, and that's Scott Bartell and Chad Collins on our 30th episode. Congratulations, guys! It's been a good run, as Scotty would say. Yep, we still are missing the great service of one of our hosts, and that's Vince Travato, who still is roaming around the Middle East as we speak. He should be back by the next episode if he is not being detained in some type of Turkish prison. He will be back with his full report on the state of Brewer fandom in the Middle East and, and all that type of stuff. But anyway, the first half of the Brewers has been wrapped up. We're just after the All-Star break after this taping. Brewers came into the All-Star break with a 44-46 record, 2 games under 500. Let's start off today's show, guys, by give us your synopsis. What is your take on the Brewers' first half? Now, don't focus on what do you expect in the second half yet. Just give us a synopsis of what do you think the Brewers, did they achieve their goal? Did they underachieve? Did they overachieve? What's your synopsis on the first half? Who wants to start us off here?
Well, it's been a roller coaster ride. Emotionally, this team has really worn on me. Right when you think they get to the pinnacle, Scott, then they lose 3 in a row or 4 in a row to Pittsburgh, and then they lost the last 3 games to the Cubs. So it's just been a difficult ride. Right when you think they're about to take that next step and make a push for it, then they somehow falter on us. So it's a little disappointing. I guess we're 2 games under 500 going into the All-Star break, and we've kind of expected the team to be a little bit above 500. So right now, I guess it's a little disappointing from where I'm sitting right now. But I don't know what you think about it, Scott.
Overall, it's definitely a little bit disappointing. There's no better way of saying it. But unfortunately, I guess if you want a whole silver lining thing, you have to say, well, if we didn't have Ben Sheets, we didn't have Oka, we didn't really have Helling.
That's probably a good thing.
That is
right. Apparently, since he has lost everything that he possibly had last year.
Yeah.
But I guess with that in mind, I'm not too irritated with being a little bit under 500 right now. I mean, you would think that when they get back, we're going to be able to be a much stronger team, and we're going to be able to make a move, hopefully. But we'll know.
And our colleague Tom Hardecourt of the Journal Sentinel had a good article about the 10 things the Brewers need to do, and he did bring up a good point, like you said about Oka and Sheets, is that the pitchers in their replacement, I forgot what record they had, but they've been pretty bad. If they would have just had a 500 record, which you would assume Oka and Sheets would have had, the Brewers would be in first place right now. So it is kind of disappointing. Mm-hmm. Not to make excuses for Oka and Sheets' injuries, but the bats just have been another disappointment. They just have not picked it up. They have not scored many runs in that Cubs series. I don't think it really mattered who pitched. When you're not scoring the runs, it's bad results are going to happen. So kind of disappointing right now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, if you look at it overall, I would say the first half is a slight disappointment. I think we wanted to take a step forward from last year, finishing 500 for the whole year. I think people expect us to be at least a few games over 500 going into the second half with looking for improvement. I think they kind of stumbled into the All-Star break here. They've been horrible on the road in the first half, and they've been really good at home. I think we can't be that inconsistent as a team. The number one thing, though, our offense has been up to par for the most part, even though at times they do slump. But overall, we're pretty solid in the lineup up and down. There's not too many holes in our offensive production. overall, so you can't complain there. But the number one downfall, I think, for our first half has definitely been our pitching. Obviously led by injury plague, but not having Ben Sheets, Tomaoka. Our fill-in starters have all been rookies or, journeymen for the most part, like Jeremy Gonzalez or, eventually getting Helling back, throwing him out there. But, Zach Jackson, Dana Evelyn, Carlos Villanueva, Ben Hendrickson, these guys just might not be ready to really fill the role that we needed them to. So that's part of it. And on top of that, outside of Capuano, Dave Bush has been inconsistent, but he's been a good innings eater. But Doug Davis has been a disappointment. I think overall the pitching and of course the bullpen and even our closer Derek Turnbull has really been, I think, part of the reason why we are coming on the record that we did. But the homestand, just before the All-Star break, we had 7-game series against the Reds and Cubs, and I really felt that going into that homestand, we were really kind of going in the wrong direction. I really felt we needed to win 6 of those 7 games, and we started off great, won first 4 games in the homestand. You think we're going to get at least 5-6 wins out of the homestand, but then we proceeded to lose 3 straight games at home against the Cubs, at Wrigley Field North, as they like to call it, all the Cubs fans, and that's just unacceptable to me. I mean, it would have been unacceptable for me to go against the lowly Cubs to even go 2-2 in that homestand. Instead, we won 1 of 4 games against the Cubs, and to me, that in and of itself, is starting to make our season unravel and does not give me a good feeling for the second half. Now, what's in our favor is a couple things. Sheets and Oka will be coming back, and they could be a shot in the arm to really make us put us over the hump. That and the fact that the NL Central has been seeing mediocre play up and down. Even the Cardinals have, losing Pujols, Mulder for a while. They're only 5 games ahead of the Brewers at the All-Star break, as well as other teams. Houston's underachieving. The Cubs way underachieving. They're pretty much out of it. The Reds have been overachieving, but I think they made a horrible trade just before this taping, and I think their season's going to. So anyway, overall, I think the Brewers are still in a good position to possibly contend, but. I think that's the next question. Let's take a moment now to go over some of the teams that are still in the playoff hunt. Let's just I know we normally have our stepping up to the plate segment. Let's do a little variation for this one. I'm just going to list off teams. We'll end with the Brewers, but I'm going to list off teams in the NL, and I'll say what their record is right now. And you tell me in the second half, are these teams going to prove to be contenders for the wild card or the division title, or are they going to be pretenders? Going into the All-Star break again, NL East, the Mets are running away with that division. In the Central, the Cardinals have the lead and probably pretty strong favorites to win the division in the second half. In the West, it's kind of wide open, but I think the Padres once again are leading the division there. But anyway, as far as the rest of the teams, why don't we just go right around the horn. Scotty, start us off. The Dodgers, a record coming in the break, 46-42, 2 games out first in the West. Are they going to be pretenders or contenders for the wild card?
I think they'll be contenders. In fact, I think they're going to wind up winning that division.
Okay.
Yeah, definite contenders. I like their pitching. I think their hitting will come around too. They got some good young talent that's really exploded. So definite contenders.
Yeah, they had coming in the season. They had one of the best farm systems in baseball, and it's really starting to show. And they're just going with their kids. It's similar to like the Braves format. They just plug them in there when they're ready, and they're going with a lot of young. So I don't know if they're going to go very far in the playoffs if they do make it, but I definitely do. I agree with you guys. They're contenders for the second half. Moving on, the Cincinnati Reds in our division, ahead of us by a game or so. 45-44 is the record coming in the break. Pretenders or contenders in the second half, Scotty?
As you said, bad trade, and you know what? They've just free fallen in the last, month or so. So no, they're not. They're pretenders.
Okay.
I'm going to lean a little bit towards pretenders. Their weakness was their bullpen, and they did solidify with the trade, but I think they gave up a little too much. But just the way the division has been, no one wants to take it over, so anyone could win, but I'm going to say pretenders by default.
I think they've been getting outstanding pitching from both Bronson Arroyo, which obviously was a good trade for William Opeña, and obviously Aaron Herang stepped up a little bit this year and proved himself a quality almost ace. But outside of that, the rest of their pitching, and even though this trade might help their bullpen now, I'm not buying it. I'm going to say they're pretenders. I think they're going to definitely fall off in the second half. All right, moving on. The Giants also with a 45-44 record in the West. They're kind of hanging in there. Chad, what do you think? Pretenders or contenders in the second half?
I actually think they're contenders. There's something about the Giant team that scares me. They keep Jason Schmidt. I like their pitching. Alou, if he can stay healthy, he's unbelievable. And Bonds, if he doesn't get indicted and gets to play decently, he hasn't really done anything yet. I think if he turns around and does something, this team is definitely a contender. So I'm going to say contenders.
Okay, Scotty?
I really think, as you pointed out, this is a team that they definitely have the potential to be contenders. However, they're an old team, and I just think they're going to fall off at the end. I just think they're too old. I think they're pretenders. I think they're gonna lose it in the last month.
I actually agree with you, Scott. I'm going to go with pretenders because of the aging team. Having a lot of veterans can be helpful, especially in a pennant race, if indeed. But the number one thing I think is I don't think Bonds is going to come back with great numbers. I think that he's going to prove to be more of a distraction than anything this year, especially with the impending possible indictment. So yeah, I'm going to say they're pretenders too. All right, then you got the Colorado Rockies, who, believe it or not, went an all-star break over 500. Who would have guessed that? I think a lot of us here on the Brew Crew Review staff picked them to be one of the worst teams in baseball. I think Vince definitely, we'll blame that on him. But anyway, since he's not here to defend himself.
I think this is on Egypt on demand, I think. So
yeah,
Vince might be watching.
I know that he's been tracking the Rockies, and he doesn't understand it even from the Middle East. They can't understand. But anyway, the Rockies, pretenders or contenders, Scotty.
Surprisingly, I think I wrote them off about a month ago saying, oh, you know what, this team just fell into last place, probably only 2 games out, but still last place, and I really thought everybody else in that division was better than them. However, they might have that whole kind of young, got nothing to lose kind of thing going on, so I'm going to say that they're contenders.
Okay.
The division's wide open, so maybe pretenders, but maybe contenders, but I'm going to just say pretenders. I don't think they have enough talent or experience right now.
I'm going to say pretenders too, just because I don't think their pitching is going to hold up, and that's what really carries you in the late months of the season and into the postseason. So, they could, like you said, the division wide open, but I'm just going to say pretenders. I think they'll fall off. Okay, moving on. Astros, Chad, they're 43-46, just behind the Brewers coming in here. Pretenders or contenders?
Definite contenders. They've done it 2 years in a row in the second half. Just been exploding in the second half. As long as you have Clemens, Oswald, and Pettit, who has been struggling, Pettit, but as long as you have those big 3 and Lance Berkman, I think they're definitely contenders. And again, the division's wide open right now, contenders.
Gotta agree. I think if there's any team that's going to finish ahead of us other than St. Louis, it's going to be the Astros. And they haven't even really seen the good Andy Pettit yet, as you pointed out. So.
And you make a good point there, Scotty. If you really look at the teams being better than us, you gotta really, if anyone knows baseball, you really gotta say that the Cardinals and the Astros are possibly a better team than us this year. And since they're both in our division, if 2 teams finish ahead of us, we're not making the playoffs. But anyway, back to the Astros. I agree, contenders definitely. With someone in a Hall of Fame caliber, Clemens coming back is going to be shot in the arm, and they also I think will be buyers. Obviously, they've shown that right. They acquired Aubrey Huff for just 2 fringe minor leaguers. So I think they're serious about making another run for it. And why not? They have to with Clemens possibly in his last year. They got to go for it, and they're defending NL champs, of course. They're by default, they're definitely contenders. So Diamondbacks, let's see. Chad went last time. Diamondbacks 43-45. The break. Scotty, pretenders, contenders.
I'm going to go with contenders. I expect them to finish second ahead of Colorado, but it's a wide open division. I think they can contend.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll say pretenders. I just don't think they have the talent. But congratulations to Melvin for getting a 2-year extension. But contenders, or pretenders. Sorry. Speaking
of Bob Melvin, of course, the manager for the Diamondbacks and former bench coach with the Brewers.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna. For whatever reason, I just have a funny feeling. I'm going to call them contenders. I think they'll stay with the division leaders, the Padres, and stay with the Dodgers for the second half. I think they will miss the playoffs, but I think they'll contend right up to the end. Mostly because Brandon Webb is a possible NL Cy Young Award candidate. I think he's going to have a big second half too, and they've got some good young players, but as long as some veterans, I'll say contenders. All right, and the last team that's still kind of hanging around, the Phillies are 40-48. Pretenders or contenders are way behind the Mets in that division, but they're not that far out of the wild card race, and they do have a lot of young talent. Chad, what do you think?
Definite pretenders. It just doesn't seem like anything's going right there. I think it's a race between Dusty Baker and Charlie Manuel, who will get fired first. Definitely pretenders.
Okay, Scotty?
Really thought the Phillies were going to be, I thought they'd be a little bit better than this anyway. I actually think they're going to wind up finishing 4th in that division behind possibly the Braves and Florida. So.
And I also think the Phillies will not. They're definitely pretenders, so we'll see what happens there. So, all right, well, getting on to one more team, and this is the one we can maybe have a little bit more dialogue about. The Milwaukee Brewers, 44-46, going into the second half. Pretenders or contenders? Scotty.
Still have to say they got to be contenders, but you know what? They really have to play good ball in the next 2.5 weeks, because if they just go out of the break and just get trashed on this road trip, they turn into sellers. Carlos Lee, we start to take offers on it, and everything unravels. So it's really going to come down in the next couple of weeks. If they have a good road trip, they're definite contenders.
Okay.
Definite contenders, just because the fact of division, again, no one wants to take it over. I read a stat that the Cardinals are 6-11 since Pujols has come back. They're not taking a step. Houston's been fading. And maybe, like you said, Sheets and Oka will be the shot in the arm. So for now, they're contenders. For now.
All right. Well, deep down in my heart, as being a true Brewer fan, I want to say contenders, but I'm not going to do it. They're definitely pretenders. I think really what showed it to me
Those are
is
press passes.
the
There you go.
series against the Cubs, four-game series at home. It is unacceptable to lose 3 of 4 against the Cubs. It showed me that we are not ready this year. And I think we know this going in. That, our goal is at least finish a few games under 500, maybe make it past July 31st, still be in contention. I think we could still possibly do that. But like you said, Sky, with this road trip coming up, I don't want our whole, not only the future of this season, but our future around that to hinge on a 9-game road trip in the middle of July, whether or not we sell off Carlos Lee for prospects for the future or whatever, or if we keep them and let them go get nothing just because we did have a good road trip. I think you got to look long-term this year. If you realistically, the Brewers just cannot make it deep. And if they make the playoffs this year, I don't think they can make it deep in the playoffs, not with their injury concerns and the rotation. And all this stuff. Capuano's been awesome, but you just cannot have faith that Sheets will come back 100%, and that's what we need him. So there's all that, and the other factors going in. We have 72 games left after the All-Star break, so we're over the halfway point, and we're under 500. And looking at our schedule, it's not favorable. We have 40 games on the road and 32 at home. Our home record's been great, but our road record has been atrocious. Unless we completely buck that trend, with 40 more road games left, I don't think we have a chance, and that's why I'm saying we're definitely pretenders.
Well, they got to play better at home. Actually today I talked to our anonymous source for a little while, TC.
Oh, Tom.
T. Carter. But anyways, let's keep it anonymous. He gets upset.
Oops.
We looked at the August schedule, and granted, the Brewers are on the road a lot, but it's against a lot of lesser teams. If they can take that step and show they can win on the road, then there is a possibility.
Well, that's
But the
just the
August
thing.
schedule isn't that hard. It's just a lot of road games.
That's another thing that signals to me, or it throws up a red flag that we're not contenders, because contenders beat lesser teams, and the Brewers just haven't done that. We got swept by the Nationals. We got at home, nonetheless. We got swept by the Pirates. We lost 3 or 4 to the lowly Cubs. We also lost 3 or 4 earlier in the year to the Reds, who have proven to be a decent team. But still, we should be better than these teams, and we're not playing like that. So, I know we have all the excuses. The bullpen's been bad. Our pitching's been bad. There's been young defensive lapses, this or that. But the bottom line is all those things add up to the fact that we're just not ready. I think next year we will be contenders. I really, truly believe that. But for this year, I think we're going to fall out of the race. Just because, like you said, the Cardinals, I think, will probably win the division. And the Astros can make a run at it. But those two teams, I think, this season alone, with their veterans and everything compared to what we have, are much superior than us. But, if we do go out and there's been rumors of possibly, acquiring Greg Maddux, whatever it is, we'd have to fix our pitching and fix it quick. And if Sheets is healthy, if Oak is healthy, if we acquire Maddux, something like that, and we repair all these holes, there's a chance we can contend. But I'm saying right now, I'm not buying it. I was close to buying it if we were able to really, close out good in the All-Star break, go in the break with some momentum and some enthusiasm and some excitement. But we totally tanked it, and I think that's an issue. So anyway, any other comments on the Brewers' first half?
It is really amazing to me that a lot of people said that we went from buyers to sellers in 3 games, those last 3 against the Cubs. We had momentum. We'd won 5 in a row. We're just tearing it, or 4 in a row. We're tearing it up, and I think we're doing great. And all of a sudden, we lose 3 at home to the Cubs. And you can't even call them home games because our fans weren't there. The Cubs fans were. It was just brutal.
No, you're right. This past month to me has demonstrated, the month before the All-Star break really demonstrated to me, we couldn't win the series against Kansas City. That's unacceptable. We got swept in Minnesota. That's unacceptable. We lost 3 or 4 of the Cubs. I don't want to keep bringing that up, but that is completely unacceptable. So anyway, we'll still be with you for the rest of the season, and hoping the Brewers contend. We'll be there right with you, but we'll have to see. And our fingers are crossed, and hopefully all the stars are aligned, things work out. But I guess we'll see. All right, well, anyway, let's take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about the big topic that is on everyone's mind, and what to do with Carlos Lee, our free agent to be all-star left fielder. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Brew Crew Review. And this segment, we're going to talk about another topic that's on everyone's mind, and that's what to do with All-Star left fielder Carlos Lee, who's a free agent to be at the end of the season. He is the Brewers' property then, and we have until after the season even to negotiate a possible new contract extension with Carlos. It doesn't look like it's going to be get done in the season here. And I mean, there are rumors out there that he wants to not re-sign with some. There's kind of mixed rumors that he does want to re-sign with the Brewers, but he wants to wait till the season, see what he can get in the open market. Some people say he might want to sign with someone like the Cubs because he likes the Chicago area. So there's this risk of losing him without getting anything in return. So here are the options on the table. If we're in contention as we approach July 31st trade deadline, do we keep Carlos Lee and try to re-sign him in the offseason? And if he does walk, we'll at least get compensated draft picks. Or do we try to trade him before the 31st deadline, get some good Major League players and prospects in return for him? Or, I mean, obviously the other option would be if we can, sign him to a long-term deal right now. He'd probably want in the range of $12 to $15 million a year, minimum of 3 years. What to do with Carlos Lee, you guys?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I get paid the big dollars here, but honestly, I don't know. In the beginning, I wanted him just to go or get traded just because I'm hesitant to give him a deal for 4 or 5 years. I don't know why, but I'm just very hesitant to give him a 4 or 5 year deal. But then part of me wants him to be signed, but I think overall, maybe let him walk. But the thing with the 4 or 5 year deal, I heard a good point from someone, and that's the first 3 years, he should be very good, the contract. He should be worth it, and those are the years where he contends. So maybe we do have to pay a premium price for those first 3 years. Even if he does falter year 4, year 5, let's get him while he's at his prime those first 3 years, even if it does cost us a little more money down the road. So I don't know. Part of me says no, part of me says yes. I think overall it's just basically what it says on the Miller Park ticket. The Miller Park concession money says, "In Doug we trust," which means whatever Doug Melvin does so far has been pretty good. So I just think whatever Doug Melvin has a plan, I think if whatever he's going to do, I think usually does work out. I think we just have to trust his plan in the long term. But I really don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. Scotty, what's your thoughts on this?
It's funny because a lot of people will go back and forth with this, just like we go back and forth from being buyers and sellers. And it seems like, I mean, it's just constant back and forth. Nobody knows what to do. Personally, I can't figure it out either. I guess I think he's going to want a 5-year deal, and I think the 5th year is what he wants more than necessarily the big dollar amount. In other words, instead of 4 years, like $15 million, he would rather like have a 5-year, like $12 million contract. I think that's what he's going to wind up getting, if that makes any sense.
But then he's getting a free year.
I know, but I think that's for some reason. I think he's going to be more likely to take if he wants 5 years.
I have a hard time believing. I think on the open market, if they were to test, I think he'd get 13 to 15 million a year, minimum of 3 years. If I'm the Brewers, I don't know if I want to invest that much into one player. I mean, granted, he is an all-star, but we have some young talent on the team that could develop into all-stars within a year or two, with the likes of Weeks, Prince, Corey Hart even, J.J. Hardy. Bill Hall is another young possible future all-star if we can retain him. And these guys are all going to need to get paid too. So do you lock up this money? I'm all for, I guess, if Carlos will agree to it, a 3-year, $12 million contract. That's as high as I'd go. And maybe the Brewers, I don't know what they've actually offered him or whatnot, or what the banter is, but I wouldn't go higher than that. If he wants more than that, let him walk. Now, if he's telling the Brewers right now he's going to want more than that, then if I'm the Brewers, I'm looking to trade him just because obviously it sends a bad signal to fans if we're still, quote-unquote, in it as the deadline approaches. It's really going to be tough for us to trade him and to justify it for the fans. But I really think the attendance is, again, up this year. I think the fans are back. They are on board that this is the future of the Brewers is looking bright. I think a move like this is not going to, send that many fans away. I think that, people like Sexton, but that trade they realize we're in our favor. They love Overbay, but I think they realize that trade was in our favor too. I think that they're going to stick with us through this, and they'll embrace the players we do get in return for Carlos Lee. So I don't think that's the biggest worry. But what I do make us think that we are going to keep him almost no matter what until the end of the season. If he walks, he walks. Is the fact that I think Mark Antonazio really is excited about the team this year. I think he wants to see us win. I think he doesn't see us doing that without Carlos Lee. So I think he'll make all efforts to sign him if he can, but I do think he'll be with us after the July 31st deadline. However, if it was up to me, if I was either the owner or the general manager, I would definitely push to trade him just because I don't think this is the Brewers' year to contend. And I don't mean to just completely dump him and reload for years and years ahead of the future. But if you can make a move to improve our ball club for the rest of this year and next year and beyond, I think that's what you got to do. And that way you can spend that money where you'd be paying Carlos Lee in other places. And we're going to need to do that at some point in the future. And I know our payroll can increase with the new owner and stuff like that. But the bottom line is, you got to spend your money wisely. I just don't like, other teams around the league have been burned so much by having, especially a backloaded 5-year contract. When that 4th or 5th year comes, we're going to regret having that money on, tied into that one player. We're going to be like, what were we thinking?
You don't know that for sure.
And it's going to hamper us. I mean, no, you don't ever do that for sure, but you know that's all. It happens with a lot of people's contracts. It really does. So I hate those backloaded contracts, especially of length. And that's why, just as a general rule, I don't like going over a 3-year contract for most players.
Well, I wouldn't be hesitant to the 4th year. I mean, I think there's a couple things to be considered. First, Alfonso Soriano is obviously the highest free agent right now, playing outfield. I think after Soriano gets traded, which is a very good likelihood after the trade that Washington just made, then the offers are going to come in from Carlos from the other teams. There's about 7 teams, I guess, right now that our anonymous source said they're going after Soriano. I think once Soriano goes to one of the 7 teams, the other 6 will be calling. Then Doug Melvin's going to have a good idea what is Carlos worth. Is it worth keeping him? If that trade's there, boom, pull the trigger. But if not, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to giving him the 4th year. I mean, one consideration, too, is you got to figure Jenkins, next year is his last year. Right there is $8 million off the books right there. That could go to a Carlos Lee. You'd have Corey Hart probably playing in Jenkins' place. We'd be making not even $500,000. So if you combine the Lee factor with Corey Hart as compared to Lee right now with Jeff Jenkins, the money basically balances out. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a factor to keep as well. And another good point, too, that someone brought up to me, too, was that when you're in Milwaukee, I mean, we have to face facts. We're not going to be able to get the number 1 free agent all the time. It's going to be very hard. Not too many people want to come here. But here we have a chance where we do have a number 1 free agent. Why don't we lock him up when we can lock him up? He took a loyalty oath, whatever that means, a couple days ago. But, I mean, here's a guy that claims he likes it here. He wants to stay here. It's laid back to his personality. And this is a chance for Milwaukee to land a major free agent. It's not like just throwing $8 million at a Jeffrey Hammonds. I mean, this is a guy that proved that he's a quality player for many, many years, and he's 30 years old.
I mean,
so I wouldn't be
he is proven it. I think it all comes down to, is he willing to sign with us or is he not? And for whatever reason, I just have a funny feeling that he's just not willing to sign with us. And I think he's going to test the market, and he's going to get a better offer elsewhere. There's no doubt in my mind. So that's what it comes down to is, if that's what I believe is actually true, we're going to lose Carlos at the end of the season. So do you keep him for this season just to contend, or do you get something for him before that happens? And that's why I've got to go with the latter on that. Like, the Brewers, could help themselves for the future. If that's indeed the case, why not help yourself for the future and not just, you don't want to mortgage everything for this year. Now, I've also heard the argument, look at a young team, up-and-coming team like Cleveland. They were contending last year. They didn't want to mortgage their future or anything like that. But, they're not contending this year. So you're not guaranteed to contend every year. And a lot of people say that if you're in it at a certain point at the training deadline, you got to go for it, throw it all in there. But with such a young and inexperienced team, with our defensive lapses, our bullpen kind of in shambles, our health issues in the starting rotation, I think there are just too many question marks this year to really go, quote unquote, go for it, throw all the chips on the table for this year. I think next year will be a year we definitely contend, so I think we should start to focus on that. And that's just me, a little casual fan's not going to like to hear that, but that's really what I believe. So I guess we'll see what happens.
But the thing is, though, if you say next year is a contending year and we let Carlos Lee walk for prospects, then are we really going to contend? We lost our major piece, our major.
Well, I don't think
major RBI
I think we're going to
guy.
get more than just prospects for Carlos Lee. I think we're going to get at least 1 quality major leaguer and probably 2 really quality prospects, I would say, at the minimum. And that's a pretty good haul for Carlos Lee because, it's either that or nothing. I mean, I know, and that's given the fact that the Brewers should know at this point whether or not he has any inclination to sign or not. We as a public don't know, but if the Brewers think they can resign him, then fine. If they know deep down that he's not going to resign, then let him walk.
Maybe we should get our private detective Mark A on the scene if Carlos Lee wants to sign or not.
I don't know.
I think the biggest problem is if we decide that we trade him, let's say, he becomes a free agent, all right, and we get rid of him. Or, we keep him past the deadline and that's it. we contend all the way to the end of this year, and then next year he's gone.
I mean, we could still sign him in the second half too, if we prove to him that we're, it's a good thing to stay on this team. If we contend this year, it might entice him to stay. So there are all these factors, but
I think nothing short of a playoff run is going to make him sign with us after the 31st. There's no way otherwise. I mean, otherwise he would have done it by now. But I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many other offers coming in, and they're all going to be for more than what we're going to pay.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much done with that.
So by the time you fans out there are watching this episode, it's very likely we're going to be closer to the July 31st deadline, and those questions might be answered. But I guess stay tuned, and we'll see as things progress here. So
the part I'm most worried about, I'm so sorry, but you know what? If he winds up trading, or if we wind up letting him go at the end of this year and he signs with somebody else, if he signs with someone else within our division, that is going to absolutely suck. If it's a team like the Cubs, if it's anyone in our division, it's not good.
well, what else can we really do? Like, he's already stated he has a home in Chicago. He likes Chicago. There's been rumors that he's interested in signing with the Cubs. That, to me, then the best way to get back at him signing the Cubs for next year is to trade him before the deadline, get something for him, and then we'll use that as ammo to stay better than the Cubs, even with them signing someone. They had the resources, the money, the Wrigley Corporation to go out and sign someone like him in the offseason, try to fix their broke team.
Yeah. I don't think we should focus on the Cubs as much. I'm focusing on winning the division and going to the playoffs.
I mean, baseball is such a long season. I'm not. It's not like other sports where you just can't trade within your own division.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that, or worry about that type of thing. I think you just got to make your own team better. And right now with Carlos Lee, obviously he's an all-star. Our team is better, but looking to next year, I think it's. The bottom line is I know that we're in good hands with Doug Melvin, and our new owner, I think, definitely knows what he's doing. So he's a savvy businessman. So I think we're in good hands, and as fans, we'll have to wait to see how it plays out here. But we shall see. So, all right, well, let's wrap up this segment. Great discussion, guys, and we'll come back with another short prospect profile on Vinny Rottino, a utility player with the Nashville Sound. So we'll check that out, and when we come back. Okay, we're back with our prospect profile segment, and we had a chance to Vince Travato, even though he's in the Middle East right now. Before he left, he got a chance to interview prospect and Racine native Vinny Rottino at AAA Nashville. Let's first go over Vinny Rottino and his possible future at the Brewers. He had a great spring training with the Brewers, and a lot of people thought maybe he'd make the team as a utility player. But he didn't do that. He sent him back to AAA, and he's been having a decent year there. He's sitting about 277 with 6 home runs, and he plays some short, some third, some catcher. And so he would be valuable to the organization if we need a bench player. I was kind of surprised when he brought up Chris Barnwell because I thought maybe Vinny Rottino would be up before that to fill that position, but Chris Barnwell is more of a natural shortstop, and with J.J. Hardy, of course, on the DL, and us needing a backup shortstop that can play good defense, I think that's the reason he got the call over Vinny Rottino. But hopefully Vinny Rottino does get to come up and show his stuff with the Milwaukee Brewers because he's a gamer. He's a hard worker down at AAA. He has been at all levels of the minor leagues. I believe 2 years ago at Single-A Beloit, he had like 17 homers. And he's really a fan favorite within the minor leagues and the organization, of course, being from Racine gives him that advantage. But I think he really can be an asset to the team. However, he's 26 now and is a little bit old, starting to get a little bit old for a prospect. So I think if he's going to make a splash with the Brewers, I think he's going to need to do it, within the next 2 years or whatever. So hopefully he'll make it to the Brewer uniform. We shall definitely see. So again, we originally drafted Rottino as a third baseman from Racine or whatever, and he's been great as a utility player at a bunch of different positions. So anyway, let's go ahead and go to that interview with Vince. He's standing by with his other namesake, Vinny Rottino. And so here's that interview, again, from Brewer Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, this is Vince Travato with the Brew Crew Review here with Vinny Rottino. Vinny, first of all, talk a little bit about your spring and what kind of experience you had down with the Brewers in Maryvale.
I had a great opportunity in spring to come in and go to big league camp with the team, and I did well enough to stay there the whole time. It was a great experience, just for the fact that I got some knocks. Really, what I took out of that whole experience is that I could play at that level. It's just that kind of confidence is worth its weight. So it was just a great experience.
Now, you've been lately talked about by Doug Melvin. Ned Yost has mentioned you. What kind of confidence does that give you when you read your name in press accounts in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and in interviews with those kinds of types?
Yeah, I know that they have the confidence in me as well, to be able to get called up and contribute and help the team win a little bit. So, so that in itself is also pretty. I get a lot of confidence from that, and so I know if I do get called up, I will be able to help the team win.
So when we were down in spring training, we noticed that you were quite popular, both the fans down there. A lot of people came down from Wisconsin. You seem to be a fan favorite. What is that like for you? You get guys in the major league team who aren't as popular, and you're getting a lot of the support that it's normally reserved for some of the bigger time players in the big leagues.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. When I go up for an at bat, I hear some fans cheering for me and everything at Maryville, but that's a testament to me being from the area and everything, and hopefully I'll get called up at some point, and that'll continue to happen. So,
could you talk a bit about your ability to play a couple different positions? Now, it seems as though the Brewers have lately been going to guys who provide a lot of depth to the organization. You seem to definitely fit into that mold, and what do you feel that you can bring to the table specifically in that role as a utility player?
I think I can, I can swing the bat off the bench. Right now, if they brought me up today, I can, be that guy to pinch hit and have some solid at bats, pinch hitting and everything, and get a start here and there. And I feel pretty comfortable on defense. At the corners, first, third, left, right, and I can catch. So, and being in the National League, I think the Brewers are going, like you said, more towards those guys that are a little bit more versatile and can play all around, so that you can double switch and things like that.
Okay, well, Vinny, thanks for your time. We hope to see you in Milwaukee sometime this year.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, we're back, and we're going to do our annual first half review of the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to go position by position, pretty much player by player, and give a first half grade. Starting first base, let's start off. Prince Fielder, filling in for Lyle Overbay this year. What's the grade you're going to give him, Scotty?
Last time, right when the trade happened anyway, for when we got rid of Overbay, we pretty much all agreed that Overbay would probably have the better year this year, and after that it would be all Prince. Now, in reality, their stats are actually very, very similar. I think that Prince has really stepped up. I remember after that first week, I thought he was so overmatched that I thought, we really rushed this guy, and he really kind of came into his own.
Yeah, you were going to send him to the minors, actually, Scott.
Not to the minors. I was going to start him off at the 7th spot.
No, you were going to.
No.
Yep.
We'll have to review that.
Nashville.
No.
But no, you would definitely want to platoon him with Corey Hart, which wasn't a bad suggestion, but you did suggest that he did not.
To start it off, and I wanted him batting 7th too, and now he's batting 5th, and he's for a rookie, he's tearing it up. He could very well be Rookie of the Year.
Okay, so what's your grade, Scott?
Oh, yeah, I guess we're doing the whole grade thing.
Yeah.
I gave him a B+ so far.
All right, nice. Chad?
I'm going to give him a B-. He's been struggling a little lately, and he hasn't really had super many power numbers. His batting average is a little under 270, I believe, right now. So that's you can't give him. He's not above average right now. I'd B- or C+.
Well, he's on pace for near 30 homers as a rookie. That's not too bad numbers, and he'll get at least 80 RBIs. His batting average could go up, but I think it's just due to going in the break that slumped. So you give him B-.
I think I have to explain this every year. I base my grades off of what I expected out of them going into the year. So, for example,
everyone's very well aware of your bell curve, Scotty. Though there's a lot of fans of the show that are very well aware of your grading system. But if you'd like to explain it again, go ahead.
Okay, well, that's what I'm doing. So, in other words, if there's someone that's, for example, like Turnbow, he's an all-star, but he's still not the Turnbow of last year, so he gets a slightly lower grade. See how I do that?
Nice. I see what you're saying. Yeah, based on expectations. So, if they met expectations, maybe a B. If they're below that, C. If they're above it, A type deal. Or if they're way below it, D. Way above. We got it.
Okay.
So anyway, but I'm gonna go A- just because I think people expected Prince to struggle his rookie year for the most part. I don't think anyone realized that. I think that they expected him to about 260 with about 20 homers and limited power, and also defensive struggles. I think he's excelled almost defensively more than anyone had thought. I think they thought his weight would be an issue. I don't think that's going to be. I think, he has a big slump going in the break, but, I mean, I gave him the A- just because I think he will end up being Rookie of the Year. I think he'll have a big second half, and I think he's learning every day. So,
And you do have a man crush on him. That probably.
that's made it from a B+ to A- that way. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna have to go a little bit more fast on this, you guys. But second base, Ricky Weeks. Start us off, Chad, on a grade for Ricky.
Going on a B- again. I'm a tough grader. I mean, the errors have been there, and he has improved after a while, but just way too many errors. He's done okay at the leadoff position, but no real fireworks yet. I think he's just the B-. As far as a fielding second baseman, he's a D. So, I mean, you can't give him any more than a B-, I don't think. So, B-.
In theory, you can't, but I did. I gave him I gave him a B+, just because I thought there was a real void in the leadoff spot, vacated by Brady Clark, the horse that I picked last year. Was the guy that carried us, and yeah, he follows that with. I mean, it's hard to say a sophomore slump, but wow, did he just tank it? So, yeah, there was a real void there. He gives us speed at the top of the order. His on-base percentage is pretty good. His defense has come around, although it was absolutely atrocious at the beginning. I don't know, and I guess he's still kind of a rookie in a lot of ways, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I cut him a little bit of slack there. But overall, you know what? If the on-base percentage is there, he's a leadoff hitter now. The power numbers aren't, but I think that's kind of because he's trying to be a leadoff hitter. So
Yeah.
I gave him a B+.
Okay. I'm disappointed in the power numbers, and I'm very disappointed in the defense. I don't know. I don't see him making that great of strides. I think he's going to be a work in progress. I think next year, hopefully, he can turn the corner in a lot of areas. But for this year, in the first half, definitely I'm giving him a B- as well. I think because he's been solidified the leadoff spot, shows some speed and on-base percentage, great. He's really filled that void for us and shows a lot of potential, but I'm going to give him a B- as well. All right, moving right along, Corey Koski's filled in for third. This was supposed to be a platoon between Hall and Koski, but Koski's gotten the majority of bats because of the fact that of Hardy's injury, Hall's playing short. So anyway, Corey Koski acquired again for basically nothing from the Blue Jays this offseason. Scotty, what's your grade for him?
You know what? As advertised, pretty much was exactly what I thought. So in theory, I should have given him C, but I gave him a B. I thought he did all right. I'm actually amazed that he plays really good defense for a third baseman. He has good on-base percentage as well. And you kind of knew that it wasn't going to wind up being a platoon just because Bill Hall was like number 2 on the depth chart and like, I don't know, just about every position on our team. So
Yeah.
yeah, I gave him a B.
Okay.
B-, nothing spectacular, not real big power numbers, not a real high batting average. Very good defense, but nothing to be super above average, just a B-. We would be lost without him, though, because of Hardy's injury, but B-, nothing special.
I really like that, like we acquired him, everyone's freaking out because Bill Hall is taking his job. But if you really thought about it, if we didn't make that trade, I guess Cirillo would have been playing third or whatever, but I don't think Cirillo would have been, that just makes, then our bench would be weak. Cirillo probably wouldn't have those numbers as a starter. I gave Koski a B+. I think he's done everything we thought he could do and more. He's throwing the team in homers. He always has pretty good clutch hits. He's way better of a player than Jenkins is, and he's making way less money and in a tougher position. I think his defense, I was thinking about getting a B, but that defense has been stellar at third. And I think that's underrated, especially with such another young infield that's struggling. So that's where he gets the B+ for me. So moving on to Billy Hall, who's played shortstop for us, filling in for J.J. Hardy, who I guess we should all state that he's going to get an incomplete for missing most of the first half. But Billy Hall is our starting shortstop going in the second half. And Chad, what would you give Billy?
I'll give him a B. It would have been higher, but he's been in a pretty big slump lately. Makes you wonder if he is an everyday player or not, but I'll give him a B. He's handled every position pretty well. He's taken over an everyday job as shortstop pretty well, and he has had some clutch game-winning hits, so we'll give him a B.
I'm going to give him a B+, mostly because he kind of bails us out with his versatility. As a third baseman, he is a very average person. If he was playing third all year, I would have gave him a C probably. But you know what? He has great numbers for short, and his defense has really come around as well. He has incredible range. He comes up with a couple highlight reel plays once in a while. So, yeah, overall, give him a B+.
Yeah, in spite of his little bit of a slump coming in the break, whatever, the first 2 months of the season, he was definitely our most valuable player, I would say. So, based on that alone and his versatility and all that stuff, I'm going to give him a B+. Also, his clutch hitting, mainly against the Reds, of course. But anyway, B+ for Billy Hall from me. Moving on to Damian Miller.
Go ahead, Scott.
I gave him a B. Pretty much, again, as advertised, he pretty much did what he was supposed to do. Got off out of the blocks. He was just lights out. Now he's come back down to earth, and maybe a little bit lower, in fact. But,
Lower than Earth, huh?
well, yeah, unfortunately. I mean, he's an old guy, and unfortunately, we just really wanted to keep him in there as long as we could because we just really didn't want to play Chad Muller, and I'm fine with that too. So I gave him a B.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a B as well. I think when you compare him to catchers all around baseball, he's definitely above average, and he holds his own offensively, and he had a great bobblehead. I love the removable mask, so I'm going to give him a B.
Yeah, I think based on the bobblehead and also the fact that, like you said, if you look at all the other NL catchers, he's above average. In fact, if he didn't tail off a little bit, I think he would have been one of the candidates to make the All-Star team. So based on that alone, I'm going to give him a B+, just to kind of, in the spite of all the other Brewer fans who think that we have one of the worst catching in the league, I just don't find that true, and Damian Miller is proof of that. So B+ for Damian. All right, moving on, Carlos Lee. Chad, do you want to start us off the grade for Carlos Lee?
I'll give him an A-. I mean, he's an all-star. He's been great. He's had some great power numbers, and he is without him, I don't know where our hitting would be. A-, and he steals bases, which is nice. But just A- because of the defense. The game we were at St. Louis, he won it with his defense. But overall, he's definitely a below-average defender, so A-.
Scotty.
I gave him an A- too. I really hope it stays an A- for the rest of the year, but I just don't really want to see a repeat of last year.
Okay. I'm not even going to talk because Chad made all the points I was going to make.
Yeah, that's why I was
A-
like,
for, but you did.
I read Scott's notes in all fairness.
Yeah.
but-
So, all right,
is a cartoon
moving on
I
to
drew.
center field. And I know Gabe Gross getting the bulk of the playing time now, but Brady Clark started the year as our center field. Let's grade him. We'll count Gross is coming off the bench, but Brady Clark, center field, Scotty.
Brady Clark is a D. His on-base percentage is still decent, but you know what? He's still abysmal in the outfield. Every opportunity that he's had to make a big play, he has found a way to do the opposite. His on the base paths, he's not only getting thrown out stealing, but he's just getting thrown out, period. I mean, just everywhere, like taking extra bases or anything for that matter.
Okay, what's the grade, Scott?
I gave him a D.
Grade, Chad?
Just C-. He couldn't hold on to his job. I think his on-base percentage is fine, but he just couldn't hold on to his job. I wouldn't mind seeing him play a little more than now, but just C-.
I'm also going to go with C-. I think he's just unfortunate circumstance, came out of box play, got off on the wrong foot, and conversely, not in his favor, teammate Gabe Gross got a pinch hit. Everyone wanted to see him more playing time, including Ned Yost, so I think he's just a victim of circumstance, and he's probably going to be pushed to the side in the second half, unfortunately. Okay, moving right along, Jeff Jenkins. Chad?
I give him a D+. I mean, for batting third, the RBIs aren't there. The power is definitely not there. He's made a lot of errors, even though he had that great throw last week.
Yeah.
The defense, he's made a lot of errors. The hitting's not there. He has not been clutch, and he's like the bottom, I think, fourth worst in baseball band against lefties. So actually, I'm going to give him a D+.
Okay,
Maybe D. D. Screw it.
Chad, or Scott, go.
I gave him a D also. Yeah, exactly what you said. There's no business for him to ever start against the lefty, much less bat third. I cannot believe that. That is just ridiculous. But you know what? That's got to go a little bit more toward Yost's grade. He hasn't got it done. You know what? We were hard on him last year, and he turned it around. So hopefully he does again this year. He gets a D.
Okay. I also give him a D. My one sentence will be, he has no business hitting in the 3-hole. And I know you're watching this, Ned Yost, you're a big fan of the show, so take note of that. Anyway, going on to our bench. Scott, what do you grade our bench?
Bench gets a B. We have a really deep bench. They're doing great.
Nice.
I'll give the bench a B+, just because of Jeff Sorrell. Sorrell's been incredible. I wish we could give Sorrell an individual grade. I'd give him an A, just because of what he's done whenever we need him. So I'm going to say B+, just solely because of Jeff Sorrell. It's been incredible.
I'm going to go A- because if you really think about it, not only has Sorrell been great, Gabe Gross, coming out the bench, had great pinch hit home runs at won games for us. And also, Corey Hart's been
Corey Hart, when he
phenomenal,
gets an
too.
at-bat every 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not one person on our bench has really failed, in my opinion.
I'm going to change my grade to an A-. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so here we go. Moving on.
Ah,
We'll
geez,
start
lots
off
of
the
names.
pitching staff with a couple of pitchers. And Ben Sheets, Tomaoka, should we all agree to give these guys incompletes?
Incomplete.
Yeah,
Incomplete.
And, I mean, really, that's the most unfortunate thing for the Brewers. I think someone like Ben Sheets is necessary in order to contend, and he's just not there for us yet. And who knows if he will be. All right, moving on. Chris Capuano. Chad.
A. I mean, what can you do? I forget the stat I read of how many losing streaks he has stopped personally, and he's just been the guy you can rely on. Unbelievably ratio of quality starts per start. A. He's kept us in just about every game he's been in except for that one Minnesota one.
Quality start, Cappy. Absolutely, he gets an A. And exactly what you said. How many times has it been like, oh man, just things cannot get any worse. Oh, but Capuano's starting tomorrow. Light at the end of the tunnel every time.
Well, that's a definition of an ace, and that he gets an A for me too. I mean, without Capuano this season, our pitching staff, which is already borderline in shambles, would be way much more so. And Mike Manx might not even have a job. But anyway, so yeah, A for Cappy. Moving on to Doug Davis, double D. I'll start this one off. I'm going to give him a D. I don't even want to talk about him.
Give
But
him 2
anyway, you
Ds.
guys go ahead.
I'll just give him a D plus just because we expected so much better out of him, and he's really disappointed as a number 2 hitter, walking way too many guys, getting himself into way too much trouble. I'm going to give him a D plus.
I was a little bit lax on him. I gave him C minus. He has shown flashes of brilliance. He's shown flashes of futility as well. Just very, very inconsistent. You just hope
Way
he
too
gets it
many
together.
walks. Yeah, he's got to turn around. He's a possible key to our second half as well. He's got to turn around. We
Yeah,
need him.
he's definitely the key to the second half.
Okay, Chad starts off. Dave Bush.
Oh, Dave Bush, I'll give a B. He's been solid, number 4 starter, and he's been phenomenal. He's probably been our second best starter. Been excellent at home, little shaky on the road, but was he 3rd or 4th and 5th in strikeouts? He's been phenomenal. I'm going to give him a B. He's done way more than I ever expected.
Scotty.
He gets a B as well. He's pitched very well.
I'm going to
Great
give him a B
job.
minus just because I think that I had a little bit higher expectations than a normal fan. And for Dave Bush, he's been a little bit inconsistent is the number one thing, but he's been a great innings leader, so he definitely deserves.
I think he's
at least
definitely
a B minus.
above average number 4 starter in baseball. so
Yeah,
I give him a B.
well, unfortunately for us, he's had to work almost as our number 2, with Cappy being number 1. He's pitched better than Doug Davis, so if you think of him as a number 2, he's not really up to slack for that. But yeah, he's a great 4th and probably a pretty solid number 3 starter, and that's what I thought when we acquired him. So he's at least proven to be that. Okay, moving on to our bullpen, the whole lot of them now. I'm going to throw it out there, D minus. They've been atrocious. Almost every single person out of the bullpen. What do you guys think?
You stole my thunder, D minus. If it wasn't for Cappy in this month, it would. There's no hope. Everyone has just been futile. I don't know whether they blame Marcus Hamill or Bill Castro or whatever, but D minus for sure. They've all been terrible. Dan Cole, yikes.
I gave him a D.
Is that because of Brian Schultz?
Yeah, because Schultz, what a great, he's probably, next to Capiani, he's probably the best out of the bullpen. In fact, he might even be the best out of the bullpen.
Okay.
Matt Wise is an even bigger disappointment to me than Turnbull so far. I mean, Turnbull's
Yeah.
still an all-star. He fell off a little bit at the end, but Wise, he's just leaving that changeup up. He's walking a lot.
And if he was a carnivore, he wouldn't have cut his finger. But he was a herbivore, and he cut his finger on the salad
I don't
dish.
know what he was thinking.
Anyway, what I'm gonna the bullpen has been atrocious. Let's separate our closer from the bullpen and give him his own separate grade. Derek Turnbow, Scott.
I still gave him a C, even though he fell off a little bit at the end. His ERA right now is pretty ridiculous, but overall, I don't know. If you would have asked me a month ago, he would have got an A, so he fell to a C.
I'm gonna give him a D plus. I mean, it's shaky at best. He's blowing a lot of saves. I mean, he's number 4, I think, in saves in the National League, but he's had a lot of opportunities. It's just like Todd Jones. His ERA is over 6, but he has a lot of saves. I'm gonna give him a D plus. His confidence is very frail right now.
I'm going to give him a C+, just because I think our expectations for him going into the season are a little bit too high, unfortunately. If you look at other bullpens and other closers around the league, there is this inconsistency that's pretty commonplace now. Unless he's an elite closer, which I think we were fooled to believe that he was. I don't know if he's quite there yet. Can he get there? Hopefully. But right now, I'm giving him a C+. He did make the All-Star team. They deserve it. That's up for debate. At least Cappy got to go, but I mean, he did pitch a solid inning in the All-Star game. Didn't give up any runs, but so I mean, I think he'll rebound and have a decent second half. And overall, disappointment and inconsistency, all that stuff. But I look for better things from Turnbull in the second half. So let's wrap up our grades by one last one, and we won't go all the way up to owner or management or anything like that. But we do want to talk about our manager, Ned Yost. What do you guys think of Yost's managing job in the first half of this season? Chad?
I give Ned Yost a D. I'm sorry, Ned. I know you're a loyal supporter of our show, but just to have our team so many times at 500, and I think we finally just won our first game when we hit 500 in so long. Not to be able to push them over the edge, not to be able to motivate them to beat teams like the Cubs, the Pirates, And then, like you said, the Cincinnati Reds, teams we should beat. I think a manager needs to do something about that. And mainly the D has a lot to do with Jeff Jenkins batting third against lefties or against anyone. I think he needs to start mixing that lineup more and really putting some more thought into it. So I'm going to give him a D.
I gave him a C minus. I think at this point I've pretty much already made my whole point about how irritated I am with Jenkins batting third and even starting against lefties while Corey Hart sits on the bench. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe with it. At least now he's starting to bring in Turnbull in the 8th inning when a lot of times that 8th inning is more important than the 9th if it's a trouble situation. Hasn't worked out, but at least he's starting to buck trends that certain managers just fall into. So he's at least, I don't know, he's at least doing things a little bit differently. But
So what was your grade?
I gave him a C minus.
Okay, I'm giving him a solid D, and that's being generous. I mean, for the most part, I've been a huge supporter of Ned Yost all the way up to this point since he's been hired. But something about this season is just really irritating me, the fact that the Brewers cannot play fundamental baseball. And this goes back to the manager. I think it has to be demanded that they can get a bunt down, that they can score runners from third with less than 2 outs, that they can improve their defense. And this might be more of the entire coaching staff, which now includes Yount and Swain. I think really overall, it can't just be pinned on Yost, but his in-game management to me has been way below average and unacceptable. And also his juggling and usage of the lineup, the usage of the bullpen, everything. There's not too many things I think he's really been doing well this season. I hate to say it, but he's cost us several games because of his poor managing. And I think we have to improve on defense. We have to improve on fundamentals. It's such an important thing to stress on a young team. You know that guys like Joe Girardi are doing that to his young players down in Florida. Why can I not do that in Milwaukee like they're doing in Florida? It's so important. We do have young players. There's some veterans that show on the way, like Koski and everything. Cirillo's great to have on the team, but come on, Ned. You cannot keep Jenkins in the 3-hole. You cannot, mess with the lineup and the bullpen as much as you do. You've got to get some consistency, and we've got to have a better second half.
And you can't have the team come out like they come out against the Cubs those last 3 games and against Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh with just nothing. They were just there, and a manager has to do something, kick them in the rear. Yeah,
definitely. So, all right, well, we got to wrap it up. I think we're out of time here, guys. But again, check out our website at brewcrewreview.com. So some more updated stuff there. Again, next episode, we'll look forward to, it'll be our 2-year anniversary next episode, which we'll celebrate with hopefully some special guests. We'll also have the great return of the Vince Travato coming back from the Middle East. If he is indeed allowed to, get out of the Turkish prison he may have got himself into.
Or the Turkish
We're also
bathhouse.
hoping that the Aviator 2s will come back from the Middle East as everyone's cliffhanging with that one. But we'll see you next month for that. And so Vince will be back in the studio with us. And we're also hoping to take another minor league road trip not in the not too distant future too. So hopefully we can bring you some more footage from the great state of Tennessee and such. But anyway, in all of our normal segments, we'll be back next time too. Again, if you have any questions you want answered, remember to email us. You can email me at craig@brewcrewreview.com. We got Scott at brewcrewreview.com, Chad at brewcrewreview.com. Any questions you want emailed or any suggestions for the show, make sure to send them in. We always are looking for that. So
Email a rapid fire question, please.
And continue to go out and support the Brewers. They definitely need your support in the second half, and the Brewer fans have been great this year. And hopefully we can contend the rest of the year in spite of what we've all said. But I believe hopefully we can do it. So
happy birthday to Chad Olson, ticket sales coordinator. His birthday was on July 12th. And Mr. John Barnes, his birthday, he turned 42 a couple weeks ago. Former guest of our show as well.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, fellas.
All right. So again, go Brewers, and remember to
stay classy, Wisconsin.
Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around, and then worst of all, you never call baby when you say you will. But I love you still, I need you more than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start. So build me up, buttercup, don't break my heart. I'll be over at 10, you told me time and again, but you're late. I waited around and then I run to the door. I can't take any more. It's not you. You let me down. Hey,